Hey, good morning, guys. It's Tuesday. Welcome back to writing 7-8 and 5-6. Something I forgot to do last week. I think we better go ahead and square this away. A couple of just housekeeping things to take care of. I need to go ahead and take the roll. So if you're here, just, here, hello, whatever, wave at me, okay? Osbrooks, Klein, Ferguson, Bueller, Ferris, Bueller. Just kidding. Nobody has to take roll. And I can't hear you anyway. I hope you guys are enjoying your book. I hope you have enjoyed planning, thinking about which one of these topics, study plans, your production that you're going to want to do this year or this last of the year. Let's go over their titles again. How many of you considered being a sportscaster, the news anchor, the magazine writer, the producer of that highlight reel, or a photographic journalist? Today, we're actually going to go over the sportscaster and the news anchor, which are very similar. The sports anchor is the interview that you're going to do with someone connected to the sports field. The news anchor is looking for the interview of that human interest story, something that you just want to tell someone's story. So what we're going to talk about today is what an interview looks like. You'll be getting a printout of this. It'll be coming to your parents, and so there's a PDF where you can read this or review it as you like. And let's give the definition of an interview. An interview is to talk with or question someone to get information, to conduct an interview of someone. Some examples of its use is the police conducted interviews with several witnesses. The author was interviewed on television. Several applicants were interviewed for the position. And just some notes that I put together that I thought might help direct you a little bit. And an interview usually has a very directed set of questions. It gives you the opportunity of planning where you want your interview to go, asking questions that will lead in that direction, and getting answers. Often they're the answers you want to get. An interview can go very badly if your interviewee gets off track or starts to run the program himself. Have you ever heard of this phrase? And it's found in law schools and places like that, where when there's a witness on the stand, there's a phrase that says, never ask a question you don't want the answer to, or that you don't already know the answer to. You never want to get surprised by a witness on the stand. You need to know in advance or anticipate what the interviewee, or the witness in this case, is going to say. That being said, the way that you control that is you do your research first. You pretty much need to already know about the athlete or about whoever it is you may be interviewing. Even the human interest story, you might get a little bit more detail from that, but you still pretty much already know where the answer is going to go and if it's going to fit within the topic that you're interviewing for. What happens if you're interviewing someone and you're interviewing someone for an audience specific, and in this case, younger students, your peers, your parents that are going to see something like this? What happens if you're interviewing this person and you ask them what their favorite movie is? Well, if you don't already know what their favorite movie is, what if they come up with some really inappropriate film or whatever, and someone looks at you and says, you interviewed that guy because why? And you just want to make sure that you know what that answer is. You don't want it to be something that's inappropriate for your viewers. You have to plan your interview. You write your questions. You want to lead the interviewee in the direction through an opening statement such as, Mr. Johnson, I understand you're in the middle of a great written work. Would you like to tell us what the inspiration for such a huge undertaking? That's important because you then get to kind of control the flow. You don't want to get his whole life story. You're only interested in, hey, what was your inspiration for this great written work? Our written assignment or video production will actually give you complete control of your interview because since this is your project and this is a historical fiction novel that you're reading, then you get to control the questions you ask and the answers that are given. This is a creative writing assignment, a creative video production assignment, and it's a little bit more interesting. All of this applies to both the written portion of this for sportscasters and newscasters. The way you present it to us is going to be a little bit more free-flowing, but I want you to make sure that you know what direction you want it to go in, how you will ask those questions for that guided answer. This is applicable for the interviews. Next week, we're going to go over writing for a magazine article, for that cover story, and we have some photographic journalism that we'll talk about next week. But for now, I want you guys to just hang on a little bit. I've actually prepared an interview as a demonstration to let you know what it is to ask questions and get those guided answers you're looking for. Hold on, we'll be right back. Senor Blanca, I want to thank you for taking time from your busy training regimen to answer a few questions for our Discovery Writing students today. Oh, Tay, my pleasure. Anything for those little colts and fillies. Can you tell us how your day usually begins? I'm not just any nag out here in the field. I'm special, a national treasure, an ambassador, so to speak. Nothing but the best. I start with a nice brushing, muscle rub down, nice horsey pedicure and hoof cleaning. My physical care is very important to my performance. My stable boy is actually crucial to my mental health. He's my best friend. Aside from that, do you have much contact with other humans? Ooh, limited. No one wants to risk exposure around the stable these days. I usually see my vet. He's a pretty good guy, albeit a little clinical. Wish he would warm those tools up a bit. My personal favorite is my equine chiropractor. Nothing like a good adjustment. Anyone else? The trainer. This guy is something. I love this guy. He pushes me. He pulls things out of me I didn't know I could do. I trust him. He's a huge part of what I do. See, I'm basically a herd animal. Trust is everything. We don't follow just any weak-willed leader. He's got to earn the right to lead the herd. Now, how about your relationship to your rider? He seems a bit of a showman, kind of a pretty boy. He is pretty, but it's all an act. He's a solid enough guy, quite an athlete in his own right. He spends a good bit of time hanging out. One thing, this guy talks a lot. Can't get a word in edgewise. Tells me all his secrets. He knows I won't betray him. I usually just nod my head, rest my chin on his shoulders. You know, horsey lingo for love you, man. Trust is everything between us. It's a big deal with equines. We spend time walking around the ring, little rein tug, knee push, all our secret signals. We work on keeping those signals very invisible. Part of the awe we like to hold the audience in. My guy is pretty good. Very subtle dude. I do have one last question. How do you feel about being trained as a war horse? Your ancestors being taken into combat. Yeah, that's kind of rough. No one likes war. My great-great-grandstud was a legend. We don't really operate that way anymore. We're more of a keeper of our tradition. We can't hold a candle to those guys. I gotta say, though, the legends all say the same thing. We didn't start the battle, but we're in it to win it. We don't fight for politics, the herd back home, We fight for the guy on our back, the ride team to our right, to our left. If we keep their 6, we all survive. We all got a better chance to get back to our own stable. Yeah, that's what the legends say. Man, that's deep stuff. Thanks for spending time with all the Discovery writing students. Yeah, it was great. Been hearing good stuff about them too. Thanks for dropping by my crib.